Welcome to this episode of Building Legacy. Today we're going to be talking about the structures that need to be inculcated within family businesses to keep them going. Family businesses, of course, are the backbone of our economies. They shape industry, create livelihoods, and pass down more than just generational wealth. In this series, we delve into the heart of family-run enterprises where personal relationships and professional ambitions often collide. In this episode, we deep dive into how a family-run enterprise can adapt for the future with clear roles, advisory boards, and family constitutions. Joining me, as always, is Boston Consulting Group's Janmejaya Sinha, but we also have a very special guest to take us through today's episode, which is Ajay Shriram, a respected business leader who has successfully navigated the complexities of a legacy business through the decades. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Building Legacy. Mr. Sinha, I think this episode is a crucial one because it comes to the heart of how to and what to do to successfully run a family business.
It's absolutely true, Tamanna, and it's a great pleasure to have Ajay with us, who is actually a doyen in this area, and I've learned a lot from him. So, if you really look at it, all companies come under the rubric of SEBI, the Competition Commission, the High Court. Who does the family come under the rubric of? The parents.
The patriarch.
Yeah, the patriarch, the parents. But there are no rules. They can do it whichever way they want to. And so, when you have a large business, then what do you do to manage the family in a way that is constructive? Now, we are talking to Ajay, who comes from one of the most iconic families that India had. At independence, almost everything that you heard of, other than the business also, forget about Shriram, but Lady Shriram College of Commerce, the whole vast areas that their family actually created. And then, for the last 35 years, he has been, in a sense, stewarding his side of the family as they have gone in and expanded. And now I'm sure he is thinking about the next generation and how they come into the business. So it's the ideal person actually to talk about, structures and how they think about these formal and informal structures. It doesn't have to be everything being written as a constitution, because unlike a nation, a family's constitution lasts only 10 years, 8 years, and then it has to evolve. And so it's a good time to get Ajay, and Ajay, give us a perspective of Kal Aaj or Kal for the Shriram family.
Thank you very much for inviting me on this program. It's really a pleasure to be here. Our group, the Shriram Group, started 136 years ago by my great-grandfather, Sir Shriram. And as rightly mentioned, he was an institution builder. He was a nation builder. I think that was his objective at that time. We continued together as a joint family business till 1990. Then in 1988 or so, the family started feeling, let's restructure the group, because the number of male family members working in the companies was growing more and more. How do we give more independence, more space, and more actually ability of each one to pursue what they want to do? How do we move forward? So if I may say so myself, in 1990, we had a very amicable, cordial settlement between the entire Shriram family at that time. We split into 4 different companies. The allocation of businesses, because DCM Limited, erstwhile DCM Limited, had 7-8 different business activities and different SBUs, as we used to call it. So it was a negotiated discussion between family members of what will go into which group. Accordingly, in May 1990, 4 different companies were formed, and our company, my younger brother Vikram and I, got into the hot seat in 1990 of that time called DCM Shriram Consolidated Limited, which we later on changed to DCM Limited. I think that was a very big change for us, because prior to that, we were working in one of the SBUs in the erstwhile DCM Limited, reporting to an executive director. And suddenly we became managing directors. we were blessed in a way, and we were very happy that the board of directors we had were really wonderful. We actually took an approach that let's get an outside chairman who can give us the right values, the right culture, and whom we know. So we requested Mr. Mantosh Sondi, who was a director on erstwhile DCM Limited, to be our chairman. He was chairman for about 12 years. He set down a lot of systems, procedures, what should be the conduct on the board, how to bring about transparency, how to move in a structured manner, that what's best for the company. We always said so ourselves that ultimately, end of the day, we are the largest shareholders. If the company does well, we are the biggest gainers. But we have a lot of responsibility.
But Ajay, I'm going to stop you for a second and ask you that the board of directors all companies have.
Right.
But what did you and Vikram do as the brothers to manage yourselves, as the family? And then how did you all start managing your kids? Because the board, of course, was there, and you all strengthened it, and you had a person as eminent as Mantosh Sondi on it, which was fantastic. But what did you all do that you all didn't allow any tensions to grow between you and your brother?
So I think there are two sides of it. One is management of the family. The other is management of the company.
Yeah.
I think one has to focus on both. Incidentally, about 95, 96, when we had at that time also different SBUs within the company, we are a firm believer that people are the core strength of any company. So we started working on teamwork building programs, and with a behavioral scientist. By then, my third brother, Ajit, also joined us. We actually started going out with the behavioral scientists to communicate. So I think three things which are very critical for family togetherness in a company. One is communication. There's no getting away. Communicate, communicate, communicate. That's the most important. Second is transparency. How to actually ensure that there is total data presentation of everything between the family. And the third, I would say, is intention. I told my brothers, I said, we are all human beings. I will say something you don't like. You will say something I don't like. But if the intention is not wrong, it's perfectly all right. Let's talk and sort it out. So we moved with the behavioral scientist, and we've had actually till date over 20 or 22 or 23 3-day, 4-day retreats just to talk, communicate, and just get things off our chest so we can talk to each other. So I think the family management on one side is very, very crucial. Secondly, on the company side, we actually told that time Mantoshi, we had a gentleman from Bombay who was the chairman of our audit committee. We told them, please be as strict and as rigid as possible. Please look at the details. Please ask questions. Please don't hesitate.
So Ajay, I want to stop you again and ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you asked Mantosh Sondi, please be strict, please ask, it was also because you all were quite young at that stage when you suddenly became managing director, and there was some degree of anxiety in that role, So you were not unhappy about having a mentor, elder statesman, to start to guide you. At what point did it start becoming irritating to have a person like that?
No, I'll be honest with you, we never felt that, Janmay. We really never felt that. Because in the audit committee meetings or any other board meetings, we actually suggested to our CFO, etc., please answer question. We encouraged our directors, you want to have a separate meeting with the CFO to understand the company better? Please do that. And even now it's happened. So the communication level is high.
But one thing I will ask you, at the start when you became you were executive director, then you become managing director. How did you create your team? There would have been people who would have been unhappy. How did you change them or bring, bring in a mix that could allow for your team to get created?
The first thing we did after the restructuring, Janmay, was getting to know our people. So, we used to go to Kota at least twice a month and spend at least one day just talking to the senior officers and understanding what their views are and what our views are. That's how we get to know each other. And as I mentioned, we do actually team building exercises with external resources. We went to Agra in 93 or 94 for 4 days with our senior most team to again just share and talk and get to know each other better. So I think outside resources play a very major role, provided you have an open mind. I think that's important.
I just want to delve into this point. The extent of self-awareness also required to say that let's bring in a behavioral scientist, let's bring in a structure where you have a statesman or a mentor to guide you through, and then come with an amicable family settlement at the end of it. And Mr. Shriram, give us some color into what was going on at that time which led to this self-awareness.
Tamanna, can I interrupt you here? Can I say, there is a difference in my view from an outside-in perspective. We'll get Ajay's view, of course. The patriarch or the Superman entrepreneur who creates the business, they are a different breed altogether. The generations that follow have a very different sets of challenges. The first patriarch, the Superman entrepreneur, who does something when everyone was telling him he will fail, what are you doing, this risk, that risk. They have to really believe themselves. And they have to have this, I'm going to do this. And at that stage, they are not the most open to, being like an Ajay, bringing outside people in, etc. The Superman entrepreneurs originally, they drive. Then the next generations have to know that they are not Superman entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
And that is what he knew, but the others don't always. Let's get his perspective.
So which is the point, that self-awareness that, let's bring in expert help. And
Correct.
just because I'm in this family, in the hot seat, doesn't mean that I immediately take on.
That's one point we've actually shared among ourselves as family, and more so to the next gen. Never feel that because you're a family member, you know it all. I think if that sort of a mindset comes in saying I have a right because I'm a member of the family or a large shareholder, I think that is where it can be very dicey for the company's future. So our approach is, let's get the best resources from wherever we can. Actually speaking, if you look at it this way, I think our job as managing directors is to get the best person for the right job at the right time. That is what we have to focus on. And right from day one of...
question, that you do a retreat once a year or whatever. But on a day-to-day basis, how do you all communicate? How do you what is the structure that the family has to manage itself? Or not just the yearly things that you have, etc. But is there an advisory group? Is there a pre-board meeting discussion? How do you all align?
To be honest with you, Janmay, in the last 5-6 years, we have set up a family council.
Okay.
And it's a business family council where we discuss business issues also on a periodic basis with a fixed agenda, with a structured system. I think what we have believed in from day one is, whether it's a family company or a non-family company, some processes and systems are absolutely essential. Unless there is some discipline on how we are going about managing the enterprise, we can't have whims and fancies. There must be a counter check.
So what is the membership of this family council?
This family council we have today has got 2 people from outside.
Okay.
And three of us from the family. And now my elder son, he's also become a deputy managing director a couple of years back. So he's also part of this. And we interact periodically to talk about how is the family going, how is the company going, do we need to bring out changes? And we've also got consultants from outside.
So decisions are majority or consensus?
Consensus. We in fact have told our EDs also and others, look, it may take, sometimes it may take a little longer, but we want to move by consensus. And if there's something which is grossly unfair, this is where outsiders come in. That they can bring in a different perspective, a new perspective compared to what we are. By being in the company for 30 years, you think in a particular way. But how do you get an outside-in perspective? That's very crucial.
I have a question here, because what is the key to success? When you spoke about the Superman entrepreneur, at the end of the day, there is this feeling that to run a successful business, you can't have a democracy kind of situation. And just borrowing from the word consensus, because that's how you'd want to run a country, but not necessarily a business. There's someone at the end of the day who has a right of veto, who takes a call, says yes or no, and then the burden of those decisions sits with them. Is that a sustainable way to move forward?
So let's ask him.
Yeah.
So in our case, frankly, because we've got 5 or 6 SBUs within DCM Shriram Limited, it's very clear which family member is responsible for which one. Okay. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the ED concerned has to report to someone. Because if there's an issue which comes out in a business, he can't look for 3 or 4 managing directors to, ask a question. So that's one. Similarly, corporate office functions also are reporting to someone. We have clarity on that. Then we have what we call a group management board, which meets every month. And there we review the performance of the business, and that has all the business heads on it. So that discipline comes in.
The kind of structures that Mr. Shriram is talking about, now we should sort of give a sense to our audience perhaps on how they can implement some of these ideas, because it's coming from a place of clarity, of thought, and ensuring and preempting any conflict. At what point do you start planning like this? When you see the first signs of trouble, or should this be something you put into place as your family and your business is expanding?
So let's ask him what he did, and then I'll give you what I've explored in different families.
Well, to my mind, frankly, the sooner one starts, the better. It's much better to do it and just start talking, sharing, communicating, each one voicing their own concerns, their happiness, their tensions, etc. So we know. Second, what we discuss very often is what is the intention of the family? I mean, family is making money or getting a financial return is one side, but it's much more than that. I think we are also proud of the legacy set up by Sir Shriram. We are trying to follow that of how we're building the right culture, how do we build the right social activities, how do we actually ensure that we are good corporate citizens who are contributing to the growth of the nation in whatever way we can. So all these issues come in, but sooner we start an open communication system, the better it is. And please don't wait till there's trouble. It's better to do it before.
Which is my point, because a lot of people start, they have this idea of a utopian family and think it will all come around.
So shall I tell you what I have witnessed in the different families? There is a huge difference with the amount of years a family has been in business. When there is a patriarch, many of these structures don't exist. And the view from the top to the bottom is very different. The patriarch believes all they are his children, they'll all get along and you can do things. When the siblings come in, it's very important that they actually think about it. Otherwise, the first set of conflicts happen. Siblings, brothers fight. So to prevent brothers from fighting, because the switch from a patriarch to the first generation of siblings is very important that they are smart. If they are not, they will fight. So, you can see that a lot of family businesses have disruptive fights. It is not that Ajay and his brother don't disagree, but they don't have disruptive fights because they have put in some principles. Those who have disruptive fights have not put in those principles. So it's when the patriarch is there, many of these things are not there, and no one can challenge the patriarch really. They are also stewards in some sense, but they are 24/7 people, building the business. And, the business is quite often their true love.
The point is that should the patriarch already put in these structures?
So the interesting question is, it depends on the personality of the patriarch. Some patriarchs are very thoughtful. They go into this in great detail. Others, want their children to make their own mistake and learn. And still others are too consumed in creating the business to have some much time to think about this. And there are three different buckets. Those who are just building and are running so hard that they don't have time to think, and they believe their children would have picked it up. I mean, you know, they've been part of it. Then there are others who over-engineer it. You know, I mean, everything that they are so worried about.
They're
what
micromanaging.
Yeah. And then there are those who say, you know, these are some thoughts I have. Develop it, do it, you know, do it the way you want. And they allow their children a lot of space, you know, I mean, in that sense. So it's one of those things which is quite different. And I have seen this, any family which has been there for 60 years, 70 years, and all one rubbish we keep hearing, you know, families can't go beyond 3 generations or from shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves. You know, compared to what? The other companies barely live 15 years, 20 years. So these businesses are living a lot longer.
So, you know, just to recap as we wrap up this episode, because I think we should have a clear takeaway here for people who are watching, and many of them would be people running family businesses or expanding their family businesses. When we talk about some of the structures that should be put into place, and Mr. Shriram, I'll ask you to sort of give a sense of this, drawing from your own experience. Start earlier the better, and what are some of the tools that should be used?
I think, you know, having a well-running corporate enterprise is the key issue. Ultimately, that is what is the backbone for stability, for growth, whether you call it wealth generation, whether you call it growth, whether you call it nation building. Unless the enterprise runs well, you can't really get the benefit out of it. So I think the competence of family members becomes very crucial. What is the training schedule for them? What is the program getting inducted into the business? How do we make sure that they are actually earning the respect of people they are working with?
Sir, may I just ask one side note? When you talk about competence, is there a mechanism to evaluate if the competence is actually there in an unbiased manner? Because sometimes that's a tough decision to make. At the end of the day, it's a family member, a loved one. But if one finds that the competence is simply not there, or the affinity is simply not there, what does one do?
No, it is a challenge. I 100% agree with you. But I think the reality is, if the competence is not there, one sees the business not moving in the direction it is supposed to move. You know, the youngsters who come, they have to go through a grind and move up the ladder rather than being able to sit on top from within 5 years as if they have a right. I think that's when things start going wrong.
Though, you know, if I was to just uncover what Ajay and his family have actually done, they've created the forums where family members who are really the primary owners in that business or are running the business have to have the chance to communicate actively, continuously, to be completely transparent with business results, to align on the intent of the family, and be part of the forums of the company where they are constantly being updated on how the company is doing. And some of them are the normal company boards, and some of them are created for the family to manage itself.
So if we had to make a sort of a very quick guide, and of course it will change from family to family, from business to business, of some of the structures that can be utilized, what would you say?
So I would say either you create a family council where and you have to answer in that, which are the family members that are going to be part of that council? What are the types of decisions that will come to that council? And how will those decisions be taken? And will they be done before you go on to the board or the company management board or whatever the company structure is? Because as Ajay had originally said, there is managing the family and there is managing the company. The managing the company, the SEBI has laid out the rules that you have to follow. But managing the family, you can't leave it to chance. You have to create some structure where family members can actually debate and think about the issues that the company is facing and get agreement so that their shareholding is expressed through one voice. So he said, you know, we have told different family members to take charge of different SBUs. Well, actually that family member is taking most of the decisions, but the others are, you know, part of a board where they are advising each other. But the right is with that person. if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the way the family has to create a structure to manage itself, find alignment, first be informed, then find alignment, then communicate that alignment with one voice. And not allow these cliques to form, saying he's Ajay's man, he's Vikram's man, he's so-and-so. Then you are in trouble.
Yeah. Let's get the last word on this from Mr. Shriram, and the advice to people watching this who are hoping to have a family business that spans decades.
I think, the passion which family members bring in when they start a business is very powerful. I think that's a great strength which can continue. But you have to actually move to first set the enterprise correctly, which means getting good people, taking advice from people outside, how to grow the enterprise. As you're moving forward, I think the communication and understanding between family members are crucial for harmony. So that's where, as I mentioned earlier, communication, intention, transparency, all these play a very crucial role in ensuring that the family moves together with the right objective. We've also written a family constitution, and people should, because that's what brings in alignment in the thinking among family members of what is their purpose, what is the reason for being in the business, and what do they want to see 20 years and 40 years down the line. So I think some of these alignment activities are crucial to really go forward and have a successful enterprise. Of course, managing the business itself is crucial in today's world, especially business processes, business systems are absolutely essential to ensure that there is a proper management of the enterprise. So you move at a pace by which the businesses can manage and grow at the right pace. But I think family alignment and growth of the business go together. How to keep that going together is very crucial for future success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Shriram, for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your experience. Mr. Janmejaya Sinha, thank you so much.